Girls Trip is about a group of friends from college, and they haven't really seen each other in a long time. So they decide one weekend to go down to a big party city. And during that weekend, they drink, do drugs, and get themselves into hectic situations. And of course, there's a more serious plot line in this movie that all the girls are involved in. And of course, you have the main girl who's trying to keep a professional career. So she has to make sure that nothing goes wrong this weekend. And then you have the girl that used to be the best friends with the main girl in college. But they've had a recent falling out lately, but none of them really want to discuss why. And then you have the friend that's divorced. And then you have the friend that's kind of in the same place that doesn't want to grow up. And then you have the friend that either says or does stupid or random stuff. Granted, in Girls Trip, the last two characters are combined into one, but you get what I'm saying. And of course, there's a song that all the girls have a unique dance to that they have to just dance to in the movie. And that's Girls Trip, I think. All jokes aside, Girls Trip does star Regina Hall, Jada Pinkett Smith, Queen Latifah, and Tiffany Haddish. And they go down New Orleans for a weekend after not having seen each other in a long time, and they basically just have a fun time. Now, I know what many of you are thinking, why would I want to go see Girls Trip? I'm clearly not the target demographic. You're correct. I'm not the target demographic, clearly. But if you have been watching my channel, you know that I love comedy movies, and Girls Trip is a comedy movie, and it was getting fantastic buzz, so easily I really wanted to see this movie. Now let's start off with the good stuff. Thankfully, Girls Trip, yes, it is funny. It is extremely funny. There's so many laugh out loud moments in this movie. Tiffany Haddish has a lot of moments where she is just busting out line after line after line. She is one of the funniest moments in this movie, and you would think in the beginning that she would get annoying, that she would get irritating just saying and doing random stuff over and over again, but thankfully she never gets old. And Jada Pinkett Smith also does a lot of funny stuff. Regina Hall also does a lot of funny stuff. Queen Latifah doesn't really have her time to shine like the other characters, but nevertheless, all of them are extremely funny. And another thing that really surprised me in this movie was the characters. Usually in comedies, characters aren't really that important. You just want to make the audience laugh. But these characters are very well developed. I was surprised how well developed and invested I was in these characters and what they're going through in the storyline. And this especially shows in the last 30 minutes because granted, while the movie may not be busting out those laughs in the last 30 minutes, I thought that the characters and the side plot that this movie had was extremely well developed, and you were rooting for these characters. I could really tell by my audience, even though I may not be having as much fun as everyone else in the audience, they were having a great time. They were clapping, oohing, cheering with the characters. It was one of the more fun movie events I've had in recent memory. And I can say that Girls Trip is an extremely fun movie. Since you're so invested in these characters, and since this is a really funny movie, you feel like you're in with these girls, you feel like you're best friends with them, and because of this, you feel like you're on this trip with them, and it brings a more fun, lighthearted time for a Girls Trip. So yeah, that's basically all I can really say about the positives of Girls Trip. It is extremely funny and has surprisingly well-developed characters, and even though those two may not sound like a lot of great things about this movie, those two elements really make this movie shine over other comedies. If I would have to say any negatives about this movie, it would be extremely nitpicky. This movie is 2 hours long, but thankfully it never really feels 2 hours long. It never feels tiring. Even though the last 30 minutes is more plot heavy than comedy heavy, you're still really invested, so it never really lets you go. But I would say that the problem about the pacing is that in the first 30 to 40 minutes of this movie, the movie gives out the major problem and plotline of this movie in the beginning, which I wasn't really sure was appropriate because at this time I felt like the movie was kind of slow at that moment. But when you really think about it, it was smart that they got this off early than just feeling random in the end. But if anything, I would say that the first 40 minutes did get to be a bit slow, and I was really saying, hey, shouldn't we just be drinking and partying? Which really doesn't happen until like minute 40, so I guess that's probably a negative. And I know that this is a cheap budgeted movie, it's about 19 million, and sometimes you can really see it. Just between cuts within certain scenes, you can see that's kind of choppy. You can see one character's head like this, and in the next cut, it's over here. It was sometimes distracting, and it kind of brought it down on a professional level for me. And another nitpick for the movie is that either the camera quality or the lighting for the scenes, something just seemed really off in a lot of scenes throughout this movie, and during that time, I thought it was something wrong with the projector, but I just can't really be too sure, so I'm saying that's probably the movie's fault. It did look a little bit off. And even though I did make the comparison at the beginning, Girls Trip versus Rough Night, I will say which one is funnier. Overall, I can say that Rough Night had more laugh out loud scenes, had better punchlines, had better setups. Girls Trip is extremely funny. There's so many laugh out loud moments of this movie, but there are also a lot of times where they may say a joke, and even this audience that's having a fun time, no one really laughs. And it kind of felt awkward at those moments, but again, it does make up for the times where it was funny and everyone was dying of laughter. But overall, I can say that Rough Night was the funnier movie, but Girls Trip is the better, more developed movie. And for the four girls in this movie, Tiffany Haddish, Jada Pinkett Smith, Regina Hall, all of them did have a shining, hilarious moment. Queen Latifah, I always kind of forgot she was in the movie. I mean, she was there throughout the movie. And then there was a moment at the end where she came back into the movie and I'm like, oh, Like, you're here. I feel like she didn't really have a standout moment or a standout hilarious moment, which kind of felt a little bit weird. But if anything, this movie has a major sin upon it. For you to understand this, I have to give you some backstory. A couple years ago, I wrote a script for a romantic comedy and it involved these two girls. And in my script, these two girls go out to a club one night, and one of the girls gets extremely drunk, and she thinks that a table is a man, and she starts to hump it and do other stuff with it. I wrote that 5 years ago. There's a scene where Queen Latifah is extremely drunk, and she sees a man in a club and she starts to have sex with it, only to find out that it's actually a lamp. Girls Trip stole from my script. I know they didn't actually, they never read my script, but that scene is so similar to what I wrote 5 years ago, I just can't let it go. How rude. But overall, Girls Trip, I thought it's an extremely funny movie. It may not hit every single hilarious moment, but it does bring a fun time for the audience. But I think it's more that it is a very well-developed, character-driven movie, which is something that I don't really get along in comedy movies. Anything wrong with this movie, it's a little bit of a nitpick. A lot of their characters do have a shining moment, some more than others. But Girls Trip really is a fun time, and I can say that Girls Trip is a great movie. So that's Girls Trip. Have you seen the movie? Have you not seen the movie? Whatever you think, you can put in the comments below, and maybe I'll read it, maybe I won't. Thank you as always for watching. If you haven't, you can click my last video right over here, or you can watch my upcoming video right over here in the box. That's here. You should click it. Thank you as always for watching. Hope to see you next time.